write down on your paper how much you weigh. Okay? Good. Write down on your paper what your percent body fat is. If you don't know your percent body fat, that is okay. Guess an educated guess. I am somewhere, I fluctuate somewhere between 7 to 12% body fat, so I'll say I'm 10% body fat. All right?
I'm around 24, 25.
20, just yeah, girls will naturally have higher percent body fat, so you can kind of guesstimate. All right? If you're a guy, you're putting down somewhere between 10 and 15. It's probably a good place to start. If you're a lady, putting down somewhere between 20 and 25 is probably a good place to start. Does it have to be completely accurate? No. I'll talk to you. I'll show you why. I'll show you kind of the science, and then I'll show you the unscientific way of actually implementing this. All right? And then next, calculate out your lean body mass. So just multiply, in my case, 195 pounds times 0.9. Right? In other words, take out my body fat from my total weight.
Wait. You should multiply the weight by your body fat.
If you, all right, you multiply your weight by this percent and then subtract it off of your total weight. Right?
Oh.
If I'm 10% body fat, then I have about 20 pounds of fat and 175 pounds of lean body mass. So I would just subtract that off. Or you can just multiply it by the end. All right? Next, you got to determine about how physically active you are. If you're sedentary, you're going to get you're just going to get a 0.5. All right, so this is going to range from 0.5 for a person that's sedentary to an elite level athlete. I am by no means elite, but I work out a lot. All right, so I do CrossFit like twice a day. I'm heavy weightlifting probably twice a day. This is 1.0. I give myself this. All right, again, not because I'm anything special, just because I do a lot of exercise. This is the absolute, yeah, that's the top. That's the most you would give yourself. All right? The typical CrossFitter that's going to work out 3 or 4 times a week in a CrossFit affiliate where you're lifting, where we have you do like deadlifts and thrusters and burpees, well, that's crazy. It's about 0.7 to 0.8. It's going to be your typical CrossFitter. So you kind of just like somebody who goes for a light jog and maybe lifts a little bit of weight once a week might be at 0.6. You know, somebody who's in the gym 5 or 6 days a week, but only just doing 1 workout a day only, right? But 0.9. So, okay, so you've got to give yourself a number. Take that number and multiply it by your lean body mass. For me, it's extremely easy. 1 times 175 is 175. If your lean body mass was 120 and you're sedentary, 0.5 times 120 is 60. That denotes the amount of grams of protein you get per day. This is my daily restriction of protein that I should eat in a day as a 195-pound male with 10% body fat and working out like crazy. All right? Erase some things. Let me know if I erase too much. I'm going to erase this. And now I'm going to erase this. You need time to write down. All right? So, if in 1 block is 7 grams of protein, how would you calculate how many blocks Doug gets to eat in a day? I'm hearing it. Divide by, right? Divide this by this. 175 divided by 7 gives me 20, the number 25. Okay, that number 25 is how many blocks I get per day. It's a lot of blocks. All right? 25 blocks, we're not just talking about protein, but just so I draw it out, this 25 blocks means I get how much protein? How much protein do I get in a day? 175. How much carbohydrates do I get in a day? 25 times? 9. I'm glad you know that, because I didn't. I don't have my calculator. And then, how many grams of fat do I get in a day? Awesome. All right. I don't so much pay attention to these final numbers as I do the 25 blocks. But just to show you, if I were to eat my 25 blocks in a day, exactly to the T like I did for that month, then during the day I'm getting 175 grams of protein, 235 grams of carbohydrates, 37 grams of fat. Did that make sense? Is everybody like, if you're following along calculating, how are you able to get to this point?
I'm sorry, like how you got the carbs and fat. Because wasn't the first one we got like how many grams of protein?
Yes, yeah.
So how did you get this?
So I divided the protein by 7 because this is 7 grams of protein
Okay, I got that.
to give me my blocks. And remember, one block has all of this in it.
Yes.
So one block here has 9 grams of carbs, so 25 times 9.
You multiply your blocks.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
These numbers aren't that significant because I already know how many blocks I get. The number of blocks I divided, how many grams of protein I'm allowed to eat in a day. So what was your number, for example? About 91, right? Divide 91 by 7. And that's how many blocks you get. All right? So if you've gotten this point, you know how many blocks you're supposed to eat. It's time to divide up your blocks. All right? Here's a rule of thumb. One rule of thumb for the Zone diet: don't wait more than 4 hours to eat. So no more than 4 hours without meal. So I have my breakfast. This is exactly what I did to measure out my month. I have my breakfast, I have my lunch, and my dinner. These are going to be the biggest meals of the day for me. All right? Rule number 2 about eating the Zone: eat something before you go to bed. Yeah.
Eating before bed doesn't matter as long as you're within what you should be.
And it doesn't have to be, I'm not talking huge meals, but I'm talking while you sleep, if your hormones are balanced and your body is also recovering, right? You're actually sleeping better if you have something in your body.
So, but I have a question.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
Before.
I've done a lot of research on eating and stuff like that. Not that it shows.
There.
But I read that like if you eat before bed, that you should wait at least 12 hours. Like, so if you go to bed at 10 and you eat at 9:30, that you wake up at 7, you shouldn't eat again. Like you should, there's
Wow.
always be 12 hours.
Why?
Because when you sleep, like you're supposed to give your body like time to, I don't know.
I mean, no. I'm not trying to be on the spot, but the best question to
fine.
ask.
That's why I'm asking, because I read it before, and, I'm just curious, like, if
Yeah.
that,
The best thing I always ask when somebody comes at me with research is just why.
Yeah.
Like, what was the reasoning behind that, right? The
It has
reasoning
something to do
behind,
with the sleep and your metabolism and stuff like that.
I assume by the time you've woken up, you've metabolized and digested all of your food. All right? But I started, so anyway, coming back, I have my 25 blocks, I divide it up during the day. Let's say 5 blocks for breakfast, 6 for lunch, another 5 for dinner. How many blocks have I spent? 16, right? Man, I start to fill in some snacks. I give myself maybe a 3 block snack there. That's a big snack. Maybe 2 here, 2, 4. All right, so I give myself these snacks. And my day looks like this. I wake up at 8 a.m., or I wake up at, a little before that, I eat my breakfast at 8 a.m. I know I'm going to eat my lunch around noon or 12:30. There's more than 4 hours between those 2 meals, so I need to eat something. Actually, this makes 2, because that's too much food. I'll probably throw up. All right, so this might be like around 10 a.m. I eat a snack, 2 block snack. All right. Yeah, and you kind of get used to that. Like, if I know that I'm going to work out at 1 or 1:30, I don't want to eat a big 6 block meal at 1. So that's why I try to adjust a big meal to about an hour or so before I work out. All right, so you just kind of have to know when do I work out, and then maybe avoid eating more than 3 blocks within that hour or something like that. You should still eat something that's going to make you feel great, I promise, but like I said, the 6 block meal is huge, so I'm going to have to wait at least an hour before I work out. All right, my dinner's going to be at 8:30 p.m. because I get out late here. Then there's like, how many hours is that? 8 hours between. So I'm going to split it up to maybe like 3 hours, so maybe like around 3:30 I have this snack. All right, that's about what time I get done working out, so it's perfect. And then maybe around 6:30 p.m. I have another snack. And then right before I go to sleep at 10 p.m. I have a snack. Does that make sense? So you take how many blocks you were allowed to eat, and you just divide it up. Just keep it in mind that you should eat. You shouldn't go without 4 hours without eating. All right. One last thing, because I know you're just like, well, I still don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that means. All right. There's a few good resources out there. The Zone book, in the back of the Zone book, has a list of all the foods, right? All the different proteins you can eat, like lunch meat and chicken breast and whatever. It'll say 1 ounce of chicken breast is equal to 1 block of protein. So if I'm going to eat 6 blocks lunch, how many ounces of chicken breast do I need to eat? 6, right? 6 ounces. And then it says like apples and all the carbohydrates you can eat, all the fat. That's one way to do it. There's another great resource. I don't know if you guys know about this one. It's online. It's called Google. Google Zone recipes, and they'll come up with a list of like a 4-block chili, and it tells you what ingredients to buy to make a 4-block chili, or all the different breakfast recipes like a 2-block omelet or something like that. All right. So there's 2 ways to do it, but basically you would just go through and learn what is 6 block. That's what I did during the month. It is a little bit tedious, like the first week, like anything. Learning what does a 6-block meal look like? How much is 6 ounces of chicken? For a while you just have to measure it. You just have to buy one of those scales from Walmart and measure it. Once you've done it 2 or 3 times, are you going to know what 6 ounces of chicken look like? Yeah, right? Or you're going to learn little tricks, like if I need to eat 4 ounces of meat, what's 4 ounces? A 1/4 pound. I go to Gerb's and I get a 1/4 pound of luncheon meat. There you go, 4 ounces of meat. Easy trick, right? I learned that 1 apple is 2-block meal. So if I want a 4-block meal, I get 4 ounces of turkey breast and 2 apples and a handful of walnuts or something. I've just eaten 4 blocks, really easy. So you just kind of start to learn those things. All right. Does that make sense? Any questions?
What about
Yeah.
count calories with all of this?
No.
Forget about
No,
it.
because your calories are already included, right? Because the blocks already took into consideration your protein, carbs, and fats, and it's already calculated in the correct ratio of those, you don't even have to worry about your calories anymore. You just have to worry about your macronutrients, right? And it balances itself out. 25 blocks throughout the day might be 4,000 calories, right? But that's what I'm trying to eat because that's who I am. Whereas somebody who is going to have 10 blocks, and the 10 block day is, or 10 to 12 block days, like typical for females, for example, might be like the 2,000 calories. Might just come out to 2,000 calories naturally. All right? Yeah.
So you just described a meal, so to speak, with the lunch meat
Yes.
and then the apples.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're plugging this into something like MyFitnessPal, you could get to these numbers and get you there. Then would I basically ignore some other numbers that are probably through the roof on you, like sodium or sugars are going to be really, really high just because of fruit and stuff? But that's okay, right?
Okay, so there's always the recommended foods that you should eat, and then the unfavorable foods you should eat. So if your intake for carbohydrates is made up of primarily fruit, yeah, you're going to be in the zone, but at the same time, it's not great for you. So that's a great question, because this is something that comes at the CrossFit seminar. Back when I took the level 1, they actually got in trouble and had to take this part out. But the guy that was teaching the level 1 was teaching us about the zone diet, and he said, believe it or not, I think it's a double cheeseburger from McDonald's, technically is a zone, is correctly balanced in the zone. Does that mean you should go out and eat double cheeseburgers from McDonald's to stay in the zone? No, absolutely not. There's always favorable and unfavorable proteins, fats, and carbs. You should always try and get as many of the favorable stuff in your body as you can.
So you mentioned foods that are basically 100% protein and 100% carbs. What about
The mixed. Yeah, again, the best resource to look for the mixed foods is actually beans and carbohydrates. Sorry, I shut you down with that one. This is get that one a lot. Beans and carbohydrates. But like milk, for example, is a carbohydrate protein split, for example. The best resource to look for that one is just the back of that book, the Zone book, or check it out on Google. Because it'll say a cup of milk is, can't remember exactly what it is, but it might be 1 block of protein and 1 block of carb. So when you go to eat your 2-box snack and you drink 2 cups of milk, you've already done your both carbohydrates and protein. You just need a little bit of fat. All right. Okay, so here's some pointers. The last pointer here, don't worry too much about the fat intake. So I gave you an example of like the lunch meat and apple, and I didn't really say much. I said like a handful of almonds, right? You don't have to necessarily worry too much about the fat. You should definitely be getting into your diet with each meal, but you can kind of self-regulate the fat, like as you go throughout the month and as you kind of make adjustments. Like if I'm eating 25 blocks and I'm just getting too big, there's no such thing, but if I'm getting too big, 25 blocks, then I might taper down to 22 blocks or 20 blocks for a few weeks and see how it makes me feel. Same thing's true about the fat. If I notice that I'm not measuring my fat at all, like today I came in and worked out and went to Gerb's and bought, this is no joke, an entire avocado and ate it. All right, if I do that for a week and I notice like my performance and stuff, I might stop doing that. Right? So that's kind of another cool thing about the zone, an unscientific way to do it. Do it for a while with like a prescribed amount of blocks, see how it feels, and then you can kind of adjust to like, do I need a little bit more food because I'm not quite at the energy levels I want, or a little bit less food? And then if you're going to buy stuff in a package, like I bought a protein bar today, or like a cup of yogurt or something like that, Greek yogurt, look at the back and see what it has in it. Let's say it has 6 grams of protein. Let's say we buy a cup of yogurt, of Greek yogurt, 6 grams of protein. Let's say it's got like 28 grams of carb, and you notice it's got 3 grams of fat. Is that about right for a cup of yogurt?
12, 14, and maybe.
Okay.
I'm like, what Greek yogurt?
The Greek yogurt I buy is more like this.
I didn't see these.
All right. Your Greek yogurt is better than mine. Let's say you buy a Greek yogurt that looks like this. About how many blocks of protein is that? About 1, right? About how many blocks of protein is this, or carbs is this? 3, and then about how many is this? So what are you overbalanced on? Carbohydrates, so what do you need to get a little bit more of? Right, what does that look like? I don't know, maybe like you eat the yogurt with half a tin of tuna or something like that, or a protein shake to get a little bit more protein in. Right, so you balance out your block for the day or for the snack. All right, and if you get fancy kind of yogurt,
What about bacon?
Bacon is a perfectly balanced zone block.
What about all the sugar that's in yogurt?
So,
Yeah, you just choose your yogurt wisely.
But most of them are good.
so read the label,
Yeah.
and what I try to do is I try and, like I buy 6 because it's
sugar there is a little sugar added, but the rest, like if I get the fruit added, there's sugar because there's fruit in it. You know?
Yep.
What you can do is, if you're worried about that, you know, the plain seeds isn't that, I add a little stevia and then I'll add my fruit. You know, even with Chobani.
Buy the ones that you add the topping to it, and then you can only like additionally add the topping, or buy fruit at the bottom and then just at the bottom.
I just do like Fayette, which is a Greek yogurt, and 0 fat, and then I just use natural honey as my sweetener. Which is still sugar, I understand, but you can kind of just do it a little bit.
Know what you think?
Yeah, you can control.
Remember, there's always good options, there's always better options. I get asked the question a lot about beans. People are like, should I eat beans? I'm like, if your diet consists right now of eating 10 Snickers a day, and you're asking me if I should change from Snickers to beans, the answer is yes. Yeah. If you're used to eating, again, like just McDonald's 5 times a day, and you're worried about what's in your Greek yogurt, just eat Greek yogurt. Don't just go to Greek yogurt for a while. Right? That's the zone diet.
How do you know if you're in the
How do you know if you're in the zone?
Yeah.
Up the zone. If you can make a pen. That's the test. It's going to be how you feel. You'll notice, you'll see noticeable increases in energy levels, sleeping habits at night, your performance in the gym especially. That's why it's called in the zone. You ever notice, like in a sports game, you watch the NBA playoffs and there's just one player just like lights out. I was like that one game against Mike. He's still Buckets! And the announcers are like, Kobe Bryant's in the zone tonight. It could be A, because he's Kobe Bryant, B, because he eats a well-balanced diet, keeps his hormones balanced to the point where his energy levels, focus, coordination increases. So you'll notice it in your performance. For me, I noticed it within a month. And that's how fast it works.
So, as Doug was explaining, thank you very much. I noticed a lot of eyeballs going like, whoa, how do we do this? So, we're going to make it really easy. We have a great resource that CrossFit provides when you go through level 1 with talks about the zone. Okay, this tells you exactly what the keys there are. It's just like a book, but it's more of a condensed version. So it has what good for you and better for you. It has a simpler way to calculate the blocks and recommendations, so you don't have to go through and do all that math. You can just say, I'm a, the chart right here. For me, I'm a large male. I should have approximately 19 blocks per male. Makes it a little bit simpler. Okay. This is free. It's a free resource for you guys. So everybody that's here, if you fill out that sheet, I'm going to make sure I get that to you, send it an email. Along with a couple of the other resources we put together for this presentation. So it should make it a lot easier. But we have a couple other things. So this is one strategy for nutrition. We're going to talk briefly about a couple other options, talk about supplementation, and then talk about the promo nutrition plan, or program that we have here. Okay? The other option is that paleo-based option, which does sometimes fall into this, but it's also different. It's more about, well, Jessica's writing about lean meats, greens, primarily leafy, or vegetables, primarily leafy greens, nuts and seeds, some fruit, with starch, no refined sugar. Okay. If you guys want more information on paleo, I'd be happy to provide more of that. It's an option. It's not right for everybody. And if you think paleo cookies or paleo
Just because
whatever,
paleo is not, doesn't mean it's
it
not.
doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't. Okay.
Same with gluten-free and all of those things. Just because it's labeled as that or organic, it doesn't make it healthy.
So the last thing I want to do before we finish up with the presentation is just bring Scott up here. He's going to introduce Pure Fit Meals and how that program works. You have 2 minutes?
No.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And how that works and how the Pure Fit Meal really fits with what we do here at the gym. Go ahead. You want this?
Sure.
The
power strength, right? Yeah. So this is a good segue for me because, as we can see, if we were just starting off, this becomes very confusing. And so I've done a lot of nutrition consulting over the last 6 years, and the biggest thing with doing nutrition consulting is you got to meet people where they're at and slowly work them forward. I don't have people come in and just doing like sodas and fast foods and stuff like that. And this is kind of stretch, although it does work very, very well. So when people go home after we talk nutrition, I give them all the advice in the world. We can talk macros, we can talk all that, but then they have to actually apply it. And for some people, that's very, very difficult. And I've seen that time and time again. And I work with a lot of parents, hardworking individuals, and they're putting themselves kind of on the back burner of actually preparing foods. And eating this way doesn't accidentally happen. Some of my clients, if they don't have food in the fridge ready to go for the week, it's not going to happen. It takes planning, it takes prepping, and you have to be consistent with that. And so that's why I started with the Pure Fit meals, is because I have a lot of my clients, they'll aid the week with it. They'll get 6 on Sunday, and that'll take care of their lunches throughout the week. A lot of people ask me, are these meals made for breakfast, are they made for lunch, are they made for dinner? I'm like, whatever meal you struggle with the most, use that. You know, I would say the biggest objection I get to the meals are like, they're expensive. They're $10.50 a meal. But these people are going out and eating, spending that plus some, and they weren't getting healthy food. Or they were getting food from the store, and it was getting wasted in their house, so they weren't even utilizing it that way. I don't have too many people that do all their meals with Pure Fit. I got a few. A lot of people that get 6, they'll get 12. They'll kind of help them 8 in the week. And I've had a lot of good testimonial emails from people of like, thanks for teaching me different food options, because I had 48 different meals that rotate, 12 meals a week, and kind of rotate. So they kind of learn different ways that they can get meats, and vegetables, and different foods like that. It's really been helpful. Cool. So I'll be around afterwards if you have any questions.
So just to build on that, just so if you have never heard of Pure Fit meals, basically the way it works is you go on in, you subscribe, you get 6 to 12, however many you want. And we recommend in foundations, and I know a lot of you guys haven't been through foundations in a while. It's changed since then. We recommend a lot of people, if they really want to kickstart nutrition, use this as a great supplement tool to fill in, like Scott said, those meals that you might struggle with, or just to kind of start you on that path. It's hard. You start CrossFit for the very first time, it's hard, right? It's hard sometimes to show back up after you get beat up that first couple workouts.
And it's a week-to-week service, so people go on, go off. They use it kind of throughout the week, so it's really been beneficial.
I know my favorite meals, so it's the ones with the Scotch eggs.
Yeah, that's sweet.
So those are the ones that I'm always like, definitely ordering the 6. And it's usually also Scotch eggs, and then I'll go in and kind of supplement throughout the rest of the month.
And we got some promo codes in the back, 25% for your first week off the meals if you guys want to give it a try. Yeah. Let's go.
All right, so that's a quick way to get jump started into your nutrition program.
So as you can kind of see, we're not saying you have to do any one thing, right? We're not saying you have to do some diet for 30 days or 3 months or whatever. We're not saying you have to do paleo. You know, that's part of what we're trying to do, is give you some options that will fit with what you're doing.
So the last thing I want to talk about is just a little bit about supplementation. So we obviously, if you're a member of this gym, you work really hard for that hour you're here, like really hard, and keeps your body down. We do recovery, we do some yoga, we do stretching, we do mobilization, but you need to fuel, and fuel pretty quickly after you work out. So what do we recommend in terms of supplementation? It's a question I get asked all the time in foundations. So it's pretty simple. Fish oil is great. Okay? Fish oil is something you should take every day. It's good for your joints. A lot of different types out there. We can talk specifics if you want to, but we have fish oil. A multivitamin does help with some of those micronutrients if you're not getting those from your diet. But as you start eating better, you may not need that supplement. Okay? And then we highly recommend post-workout doing some kind of protein shake with branched chain amino acids. So what we use at the gym is Game Plan. That's our nutritional wingman, for lack of a better term. All of the coaches take it. and you'll see it. We all take, I like to do, we have a vanilla protein, so just the basic whey proteins from a grass that we have, and mix it with the orange flavored branched chain recovery drink. And it tastes like an orange drink, so it tastes really, really good. So, if you guys are interested in that, kind of works like Scott's program. You just kind of set up for a plan. We can customize those plans based on your specific needs. They have other supplements, but those are the ones we truly recommend. We'd be happy to sit down and just show you how that works. It's a month-to-month ordering system. So you say, hey, I need a 30-day supply of protein. It'll ship you a 30-day supply. You get it on the first part of the month, and then if you want the next shipment, it'll tell you, hey, your next shipment probably comes, you want to go. Anyways, it's a great program with us, with them. I think all the coaches really enjoy that. And you guys,
Yep.
there's a question about pre-workout. We'll answer that at the end. I'm not a big fan of like pre-workouts beforehand, but I know some people like that stuff. So. But I want to get to the CrossFit Como Nutrition Program and kind of introduce what that looks like. So, in the past, some of you participated in our new 30-day nutrition challenge, right? Who's been there? I know Jocelyn's been there. Who else is in there? Anybody else? Seth, Kim, Will? Yeah. All right. So we said, okay, for 30 days, we're just going to go straight into eating a Whole30 approach. Whole30 is a nutrition program. The first time we did it, I think we had about, what did we have, 30 people in it, and like 26 of them were almost completely compliant with that program the whole way through. And I saw amazing results, and I said, wow, the 30-day challenge was perfect. Well, the lady that won that challenge, she's not here right now. She was amazing. She lost like 22 pounds in 1 month. It's amazing. All these inches, all this great, everything she wanted, she felt great, it was great. 2 months later, it's all right there back. And I said, the point of this program is really to help teach people to implement a change in their lifestyle. But this challenge, I wasn't sure if this challenge was really it. So we did it a second time, and very similar things. It was a little bit less complete participation to the whole thing. I said, well, let's try it one more time and see how it goes, and then we need to really evaluate how do we recommend nutrition. Because remember I said what health is? Work capacity across broad time mode domains and throughout your life. Right? So if you don't have nutrition as part of that, you're going to be in the retirement home, struggling to get from A to B, taking care of your basic needs. So, Jessica came, we did Prior Foundation together about 6 months ago. She told me what she did for a living. I work with dietitians in my job at the zoo. But I wanted somebody that understood CrossFit before I really said we need to focus on nutrition and have somebody that can support that understands what it's like to be a member of this gym. So we've been talking about it for a few months, and then we kind of came up with a plan. So our plan is, it's a lifestyle change. It's a 3-month commitment. Because we want to teach you guys these skills. We want to teach you guys how to eat properly. And we want to measure that and keep you accountable. Just like I keep you accountable if you don't show up. I message you on Facebook. I might send you an email. Give you a call. I do that, right? Yeah. You come in for the first time and I haven't seen you for weeks, I usually call you out. I'm Sonia, I haven't seen her.
It's gonna get fixed.
Yeah, good. We're gonna fix that. So, because I care about you guys. I care about, you guys invest a lot of money in this gym. You invest in our coaches. So we're gonna do everything we can to invest back into you and make sure you have a successful, life. That's what we're here for. It's not, CrossFit is not just like, hey, come in and get your butt kicked. It's more than that. And we spend a lot of time in this place. I mean, I have a full-time job at the zoo. I spend probably as many hours or more here at this gym. Okay? So the Como Nutrition Program kind of looks like this, and I'll let you go ahead and lay out just a little bit about what that looks like.
So we have 3 levels. And I just accomplished And then we're gonna have a Facebook group that I'll post in, kind of different motivators, maybe something interesting in nutrition, kind of whatever that looks like, at least each week, making sure that you guys are logging your food, whatever that is. And on the basics, all you have to do to log your food is you'll have access to a little Excel tracker, and you're going to basically say, yes, this meal was good, this is how I wanted it. No, this meal wasn't, we were gonna do tallies, okay? And over the course of the week, what we like to build up to over 4 or 5 weeks is having you at a point where you're 90% of your meals are ideal, whatever that looks like for you. Okay, so if it's zone diet, at least 90% of your meals are zone. Okay, if it's paleo, 90 or paleo, so on and so forth. We're gonna build up gradually, right? Because sometimes jumping in full head of steam is a little overwhelming. So first week it's gonna be around shooting for 75–80%. Okay, and building up each week. That way you can start implementing those changes. And then the goal is for have you maintain that 90%, so on and so forth. And so that gives you some room to go, you know, hey, I have friends coming over, or